Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. This morning, we would like to meditate upon the subject matter titled Shalach et Ami. Let my people go. Shalach means sent, one who is sent. And et is the Hebrew participle linking the verb to the object. Let my people go. So, however indefatigable is the argument or the reasoning, might be politically or religiously, it is prophetically infeasible and politically deceivable to postulate an idea towards a reality that is a political contrivance. It doesn't matter how indefatigable the matter is, how consistent, how it is reasoned. Yah says, I'm going to bring about a second Exodus. I'm going to raise a people up, even as I did back in the time of Moses. So I want you to come with me to the book of Jeremiah, just to let you know what Yah has said in chapter 16 of that book, and we will take verse 14, and the word says, Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into the land that I gave unto their fathers. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahweh, and they shall fish them, and after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. The word of Yahweh is letting us know that the second Exodus, the Exodus that is taking place now, is a wider and a more comprehensive Exodus than the one that took place during the time of Moshe the prophet, the lawgiver. And so as we go through this morning, as we search the scriptures, you will encounter figures and characteristics that are going to be familiar with those you read of in Egypt and also in Babylon. There is a mixture because, as you know, the people who came from Egypt, it was a mixed multitude. And so there are going to be features that are mixed, and obviously the people who now have Yah's people in exile, in captivity, are those who had them in slavery. And so it's important that we read what the scribe of Jeremiah had to say about this. His name is Baruch. And we will take chapter 2 of his book, and we will read from verse 30. He says that, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves." Who is he referring to here? They are a stiff-necked people, but while they're in the lands of their captors, they will come to an understanding of who they are, and shall know that I am Yahweh their Elohim, for I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before Yahuwah, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised in an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Yishtak, and Jacob. And they shall be masters of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their Yah, and they shall be my people, and I will no longer drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. Yah says, I'm going to round up my people, Yisrael, and I'm going to take them back to the land that I promised to Abraham, to Yishtak, and to Jacob. But we know that due to politics and religion, they have merged to the extent where they voice the same idea that the people to whom this refer are those that were taken from Europe and brought by the Balfour Agreement and brought to Israel, and this, they say, are the Israelites. The word of Yah begs to differ. It says, to be an Israelite is one who has accepted Yeshua and adhered to his commandments, his principles, and live to please him, because all those who come near Yah must glorify him. You cannot be an Israelite if you deny the Messiah, deny the one whom he sent, and say that you're an Israelite. It can't happen. So, as I indicated earlier, to postulate such a reality, it is prophetically infeasible, but politically deceivable. Makes you gullible to think that, because all you're doing is that you're postulating a reality that is a political contrivance. It's not real. It's not biblical. And so I want to make the point even clearer to you. So I'm going to ask you to join me in the book of Yohanan, and we will take chapter 3 of that book. Yohanan chapter 3. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Yehudi. He's a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Yeshua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, We know that thou art a teacher, came from Elohim, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest, except Elohim sent him. So say Nicodemus. Yeshua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born from above, he cannot see the kingdom of Yah. The word here is letting us know Nicodemus is an Israelite. Not just an Israelite, he is a leader of the Jews, a PhD, if you will, from the Jerusalem Academy. He knows his stuff. But Yahweh, through Yeshua, is letting him know that there is no place for him in the kingdom unless he's born again. It's letting you know that Israel is not biological. Your first birth, whether you're born in Israel or not, it doesn't count for the kingdom. Doesn't count. You must be born by the Spirit, by the Ruach, and by water. That's how you must be born to make yourself eligible for the kingdom. So that's the kind of Israelite that I am dealing with today. The Pharisees, as you know, they were known for their strict adherence to the Torah, for purity and interpretation of the Torah, what it means. So they were somewhat pedantic in getting it right. But even so, Yeshua is letting him know, unless you're born again, you have no place in the kingdom. So now turn with me to the book of Shemoth, that's Exodus, because the Exodus is on the way. Let my people go. Shalach et ami. Exodus chapter 1. Now there are certain things we need to understand about this Exodus. Moshe was raised up as a young man, and as we read the book of Yeshayahu, we are told he was 18 years old when he found out that he was not Egyptian, he was Hebrew. Notice that thought. It didn't say he noticed he was an Israelite. He said he noticed that he was Hebrew. And the comparison there is with Egypt, Egypt being a state. Hebrew is not a state, but it's a way of life. Understand that. And so Baruch here is letting us know many of us, even in our middle and aged experiences, we are coming to the realization of knowing who we are like Moshe. Many of us had long thought that we are Gentiles, and some still maintain that thought ignorantly, but the word says we are the chosen of Yah, the children of Yah, not only by our birthright, but by our rebirth in Yeshua. So we want to get that clear So you know when we talk about an Israelite who we're talking about. So come with me to verse 8 of chapter 1, because we're told 70 persons, Israelite, left in the different tribes, the 12 tribes, and they went to Egypt. Egypt at that time was a black state. The people were black, the Pharaoh were black, and of course, the children of Israel, they too were of the same complexion, and they went south to Egypt. Now there arose a king, a Pharaoh in Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they're fallen out of war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. I stated earlier that as we perambulate through the word, we will see features and characteristics similar to those that we saw in Egypt and in Babylon. So many of us live either in Britain or we live in America. And we can testify to the things that we're seeing unfolding that shows us that colonialism and imperialism, they are still at work, and we're seeing them in the theaters of Parliament, we're seeing them in Congress, in the Senate, and throughout where we live. We are seeing them even in the society in which we live. We cannot deny that. We are in exile. We're there. And so it says this Pharaoh knew not Joseph, and one wonders how inconceivable that is. That in all that Joseph did in Egypt, this Pharaoh somehow never knew Joseph. One could conjecture the thought that perhaps he chose not to remember, because how could you not remember who Joseph is? Let's assume that at some point a president came to office in America but did not know or remember who Dr. Martin Luther King is, Malcolm X, Louis Farrakhan. Can you imagine that? That a president would not know who Shirley Jackson was, the first African-American woman to earn a doctorate at MIT, being responsible for the monumental telecommunications research that led to the invention of products such as the touch tone phones, portable fax. If a president came to America and did not know that, can you imagine what would happen? if a president came to America with all the bad blood in America and did not know who Dr. Charles Drew was, the black man who pioneered blood transfusion and the father of blood banking in U.S., Dr. Charles Drew. What if this president did not know that? What if? What a sad day it would be. He's not aware of the civil rights movement, John Lewis, and all those people, Rosa Parks. You may not like some of these people, but you cannot deny the value they are to their people. And so Pharaoh says, let's make Egypt great again. In essence, that's what he's saying. These people, they are breeding too fast. Let's deal wisely with them. Their population is such that for every one of us that is born, 9 or 10 of them are born, and we have to put a brake on them, because if their population is left unabated, sooner or later they will become Pharaoh of Egypt. And so he was concerned, deeply so. And everywhere you go in the world, whether it's America, Britain, and everywhere, the issue is one of immigration. It's one of immigration. And so the king, we're told in verse 18 of chapter 1 of the book of Shemoth, called the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children, the male children? Why is the king saying that? Because he previously said to them that every time you go, these are the Hebrew midwives, and you see an Israelite giving birth, and it's a boy, kill him. Now, notice what is happening here. Pharaoh is trying to use the midwives as some are using the immigration and customs enforcement officers here in America. I hear people protesting, saying America is getting too chilly, and they're not talking about the weather, they're talking about ice. And so we see he's saying, kill them, get rid of them. Whatever means, get rid of them. But these midwives, unlike the officials of ICE, they feared Yahweh, the word says. And they did not do as the king demanded. They did not do that. And so today we are understanding that this Exodus is a serious thing, because if the President of the United States, the one who would come and not know the black Josephs, like Garrett Morgan, this man who designed the traffic signal, then we would not know whether to stop or to go. And so this morning, we realize that the entire life experiences of the black man, whether he lives in Al-Kabulan, in Britain, in America or even the Caribbean, it bears too much of an uncanny resemblance to the slaves in Egypt. And so in our search to know more, we can see the parallels that intrigue our inquiring minds this morning. And so it is evident for us to know that because of their investitures, bestowing authority in their academic world, religious orders, and giving themselves knighthoods and honors beyond our own comprehension, we had become too gullible and we believed what they were saying about us. In reading their textbooks in schools, which came with consular insignia, we unwittingly accepted their titular history rather than listening to what the word of Yah says. We were too gullible. And even the founding document of this country gives the imprimatur to the idea that it's all right for one group of people to own another group of people and make them slaves. And so we ultimately became hewers of wood and drawers of water everywhere we go, in the Caribbean, in Britain, in America. No wonder John Newton wrote, "Oh, wretched man, amazing grace, how sweet a song that save a wretch like me." I'm convinced that he should have titled that song "Amazing Race," because had it not been for Yah, they would have wiped us out. They would have wiped us out because many were thrown overboard in the Atlantic. Many did not make it. And so this morning it is fitting that as we move towards February, which they call the Black History Month, to address these issues that concerns us. If the President of the United States did not know who George Washington Carver was, that man, that agricultural chemist, who told us much more about peanut butter and those kind of things than anyone else, then perhaps the opulent among us would not have known even how to butter their own bread. And so this morning, we want to reflect and meditate upon these matters, because the treatment of the enslaved people in America and Britain, it was such and distinct from all other treatments of other people, because they had decided in their own minds that we were a lesser people than they are, wherein the word said, "I created men from the dust of the earth, and we do carry the same hue as the earth, and indeed of our Creator." Yohanan said, "When I saw him, I turned to look, and when I looked, I saw him. He had bronze skin, just like you and I. We look like our Creator." But they use Renaissance artists to paint their way into, or to paint us into oblivion. But this morning, the word of Yah brings us back to the place where we belong during our trek through the wilderness of this urban forest. This morning, we want to do that. And you can see it in the society. Even as we look at Psalm 137. Come with me there. Psalm 137. Because, as I indicated, that you will see characteristics and you will see features that align themselves very much with a people in Exodus, a people in exile. So by the rivers of Babylon, you can say the River Hudson. There we sat down, yea, we wept. When we remember Zion, many of us, when we remember the Caribbean, when life was like in rural Caribbean, how the unity, the love among people, how beautiful it was that brothers and sisters would dwell together and share their belongings, and it didn't matter. They just shared their belongings. And then we left and we went to places like London, Wolverhampton, and Birmingham. And we traveled on the Windrush. And we disembarked. And we went into that cold, chilly atmosphere, not the weather, but the attitudes of the people. And we were frozen out of that society. We try to better ourselves and to buy houses, but we see adverts, no blacks, no dogs. We saw it. We had to live through that wilderness experience. We came to America, some of us, and some were lynched, dragged behind pickup trucks. Nooses were placed around their necks. How can a president not remember Joseph? How? When all these things, oppression, depression, suppression, and you know the rest, how could you not remember the black Josephs? How? But it says, this Pharaoh knew not Joseph. How can a president not know that it was black slaves who helped to build the White House? How could you not know that? And therefore, you owe some respect to those people. Pharaoh, rather you're trying to kill Moses and send him, he had to run to the hills of Midian. How could you do that? You're now sending the midwives and the contemporary midwife to round up the people and to send them home. Don't you know that Yah is watching this? And all that you're doing, prophecy is fulfilling on you? Don't you see? Jeremiah says, your day is coming, Mr. Pharaoh. And all your chariots will one day be buried in the reed sea, the sea of reeds. Because those people that you enslaved, whether you knew it or not, they are the children of Yah. They are the children of Yah. And so, come with me now to the book we call Daniel chapter 4. Now, you know the story very well of the prophet Daniel that run about 605 BC in the first raid, the first besiegement of Nebuchadnezzar in Jerusalem. Daniel was taken to Babylon. And then Ezekiel was taken around about 597. And indeed, about 586, the temple was totally destroyed. So Daniel is down there. And he became a mighty man, a righteous man before Yah. But we're told, as it is captured in the Psalm 137, while they're in Babylon, they mocked them, even as they mocked us. Bring out Samson so he may entertain us. Bring them out. And sometimes that's all they see in us, that we are pugilists, we're good boxers, we're good athletes, and we're good singers. Bring them out to Madison Square and let them entertain us. Bring out Sam Cooke. Bring out Michael Jackson. Bring out Whitney Houston. Bring them out. Let them sing. But if only they knew, they would have said, we can't sing these songs in a strange land. But because somebody writes a check, they sang songs that they should not have sung. Bring them out. But this Daniel would not even eat their meat. He wouldn't. He would not bow. He would not genuflect to them. So it should be with us. Let my people go. Take your chains off their ankles and off their minds. Let my people go. Pharaoh. So Nebuchadnezzar, he had done well. He had raided Jerusalem 3 times, and he had taken their spoils. Even from the temple, he'd taken the gold and the vessels, the holy vessels that were crafted by Kodesh hands. He took them and brought them to his place. Even as the marauding people of Europe went to Al-Kabul and went to Africa, and they took our gold, our diamond, they brought them to France, to Britain. And if you go now to those places, they are there, the source of their wealth. They robbed us. And even though they promised us 40 acres and a mule, we never got it. Never got it at all. So they've built their empires. And like Nebuchadnezzar, they say, is not this the great Babylon that I have built? Let's read it. Let's read the passage. Because the word says that Nebuchadnezzar, he had a vision, did he not? He had a vision. And there was a tree. Verse 4, chapter 4 of Daniel. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. He's what? Flourishing in his palace. The man is bored in his comfort. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts of my bed and the visions of my head, they troubled me. I wonder how many dreams these leaders of the world, in light of what they've done to the bronze people, how they're feeling. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, and they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Wisdom comes from Yah, not from universities. Then came the magicians and the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. They didn't know. The fear of the Yah is the beginning of wisdom. They don't fear Yah. So when I hear the scientists and the academics and the theologians, the religious theologians, speaking their own words, they can't tell you what Yah says. But at last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar. They changed his name. They gave him Babylonian name. Many of us today wear our names, but they're not our name. It's names given to us. And so we don't even know who we are. But we're finding out, says Baruch. We're finding out. O Belshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit, the ruach of the holy Yahweh is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the vision of the dream that I have seen and the interpretation thereof. Says verse 10 now, thus were the visions of mine head. In my bed I saw, and behold, a tree. A what? A tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof grew. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of the earth. The leaves thereof were the fair, and the fruit were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was food for all. It's like America, isn't it? You come to America, everybody's all right. There's food for everyone. All the birds of the world come to America's tree, and they eat and they nest in it because it's a tree that accommodates all the birds in the world. But I saw in the vision, my head was upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said, thus, hew down the tree, cut it down. You see, every empire must fall. Cut it down. Cut off its branches. Shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beast get away from under it, and the fowls from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of its roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass and field. Now, as we read this, it's worth taking into consideration some of the conjectures that people have deposited in the bank of ideas. Cut down the tree, but leave the stump. And some people have gone as far as to say the stump is really the trump. And they think it's analogous to the idea that the 2020 election, when he lost to Biden, is being put out to grass to humble him before he comes back to power, even as Nebuchadnezzar was brought back to power. Cut down the tree, but leave the stump. So we're seeing things, and we're seeing features and characteristics that are both relevant to the picture we have in our minds about Egypt and about Babylon. And so when he looked at what he had done, and Daniel had spoken to him and told him, behave yourself and humble yourself, but he would not listen. And the word says a year had passed, 12 months. And he stood on his veranda. Come with me to verse 30. At the end of the 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. You could say at the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of Buckingham. You could say that. Or you could say he walked in the veranda of the White House. Whoever this may be, we're just trying to depict and to bring it to an existential relevance in the sense that truth has to be logically consistent. It has to be verifiable by the word, and that's what we're doing. And it has to be relevant, consistent with the times in which we live. So I'm picking these things not so much to ascribe anything on another country or person, but just to make it relevant. So he walked in the veranda of the White House, and he said, is not this the great America, the great Babylon that I built? And the word says that while the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from you. So we're watching. Even as we're reading about Mr. Babylon, we understand how ancient Babylon fell. We are told that 150 years before Cyrus was born, you read that in Isaiah 44 and Isaiah 45. Before he was born, Yah chose him and said, this is my vessel, my chosen vessel. He's going to liberate my people. Wow. What does that tell you? It tells you that even before men are born, they are chosen for a particular role in life, particularly to usher in the end time for good or for evil. Judas didn't know that. Can you imagine being born and being singled out as the man of perdition, like Judas? Wow. And so we're told that that fateful night, when Belshazzar was having a party with his lords and his ladies, and all the chariots were parked out on the front lawn, manicured, and they started to drink Babylon's best brew, he sent messengers to fetch the vessel that he had taken out of the temple in Jerusalem and started to drink wine out of them. And just before he became drunk, probably a little bit tipsy, a hand started to write. You didn't hear me. I said a hand, a bloodless hand, started to write on the plaster that evening. Meeny, meeny, tickle, or passing. You have been weighed in the balance. You have forgotten, haven't you, that it was only last year that Yah wrote in the sky over little Egypt in America. He wrote the Tav, a sign, that X, The same sign that was written in Ezekiel chapter 9, he wrote the sign, I am the Alpha and I'm the Omega, the beginning and the end. But in the Hebrew, he said, I am the Aleph and the Tav, meaning I am sealing my people in. Because as I seal them in, I will let loose the winds to destroy the kingdoms of this world. And what sign are we seeing to make sure we know that? Just as Cyrus dredged the Euphrates, we're watching the Euphrates drying up even now. And we are told when the Euphrates River is drying up, it's a sign. You better come with me to Revelation chapter 16 so that we can refresh our minds. And we will take verse 12. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Did you get me? Because when we read chapter 8 of Daniel and we read chapter 7 of Daniel, we see that when the empire of Greece fell, there were 4 kings of the east. And so we are told now they are coming because these 4 kings, these 4 heads, they will join the other heads in chapter 7 of Daniel, and we make a composite head in chapter 13 of Revelation. They will come. They're coming. When the Euphrates is drying up, this great river, it says, cast your mind, put your gaze on the east. Most of us are concerned with the west. No, he says the east, where the sun shines. But it's setting on the Western empires. You can see that the Western Empire, they're trembling now, and many of them are just a silhouette, an afternoon shadow from the light that they once were. They have lost their shine. Verse 13, chapter 16, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. He said, when you see the Euphrates River drying up, 3 unclean spirits, devilish spirits, they come out of the dragon's mouth, Satan's mouth, and one of the out of the false prophet and the beast, for they are the spirits of demons, working miracles which go forth into the kings of the earth, the leaders of the earth, and of the whole world, to gather them to battle the great day of Yahweh. So all that you see happening in the world now, men are giving all kind of rhetoric to you and promises. These are signs of the fulfillment of the prophecy of the end time. For good or for evil, each man is playing his part. Each woman is playing her part in the fulfillment of all of this. So the good thing is that as we move out of the exile into the promised land, we come to understand that we are not the people that people told us we were, because the word says that we are more than conquerors. We are more than conquerors. But you ask yourself, how did we get here? Well, turn with me to Devarim, that's Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. It said, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt, that means bondage again, a second time. So if he's going to bring us in bondage a second time, it means that the first time, the same people who were brought here to America and Britain, we are the descendants of the ones who were brought in Egypt the first time. Dark, bronze, burnished skin, Alkebulan people. That's who we are. Let's read it for emphasis. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, it's a simple question. Which other group of people were brought to England and America as slaves in ships? Simple. Those of us, our ancestors, who came through the isles of the Atlantic. So if they are the ones, these dark-skinned people, then the original were just like them. Just like them. And the thing is that Zephaniah makes it even more graphic to us. You better come with me to chapter 3, and we will take verse 9 and 10. For then, when they rounded up, I will turn to the people a pure language. You didn't hear me. He says, because you have been scattered in Britain and you now speak with an English accent, with your cut glass British accent, you think you're British, but I'm going to give you a new language, Hebrew. That's what Nimrod spoke. Well, you say, how do I know that Nimrod spoke Hebrew? The word says, at that time, chapter 11, Genesis, Bereshit, the world had one language, preserved from the man called Eba, Hebrew. I'm going to give you a pure language, and they may call upon the name of Yahweh to serve him with one accord from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Where? From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my supplying, even the daughter of my dispersed. Ethiopia, the people of Ethiopia, the black people, they are the daughter of his dispersed. And hear what he says in Jeremiah 6:2. I have likened the daughter of Zion, I have likened Ethiopia to a comely and delicate woman. Ethiopia shall bring mine offering. What's the offering? The Ark of the Covenant that is in Axum. You've got to understand that. And so the Bible is replete. And it doesn't matter what they've done to their paintbrushes or with their paintbrushes, the legacy is such that we cannot deny it. So how can a president forget his literary history that tells him about Pastor Josiah Anson, out of which we get Uncle Tom's Cabin? There are many Uncle Toms today, but we got to be careful because we've got to be like Abraham. We've got to be like Abraham and Jacob and Yishtag, and even as Joseph. They put us in prison. We'll stay there until the time of deliverance come. We'll stay there because we know that when the time of famine comes, we will have grains in our granaries. We will, like Joseph. And we pray that when our brothers come, it doesn't matter what hue they are, when they come, we will not be like them. We will treat them as we would have liked them to treat us. May this be a lesson for us. May we understand the privileges given to us, that although they have made us hewers of wood and drawers of water, deliverance will come. It will come. And Yah is the one who mediates this covenant, not Moses, his son. In Yeshua's name, we pray. I pray. Hallelujah.